everybody, welcome. I'm Zoe Ellis, welcome. So basically, in this wonderful tarot card reading I'm going to tell you about, this is going to be a very funny reading, and this is how it's going to be. It might make you happy, it might make you laugh, it might make you cry, it might make you, how it is. But the way how this is, I'm going to say it, that the way how this is going to be very interesting indeed, because normally it's going to be very intense, but the way how this is just the way how it goes, right? So, can you imagine yourself having a curfew? You know what a curfew is? Curfew means that you're being on time, you're going somewhere, but you have a curfew that you have to stay in one place, or you're being restricted that you can't go outside at night, or whatever it is, right? You have a curfew. Now, curfew is like you need something to do. You need to be the way how it is, but this is how it's going to be. This is the way it seems to be, and you have to understand that. So when you have your own curfew, as the way it goes, you have to understand that, right? So this is like a funny tarot card reading. It is, because the way how this is, it might make you laugh, it might make you, sound hilarious, but you know how it is, right? You have to understand about how it's gonna be, how it's gonna be intense, the way how it is, but it does varies to the way how it is. But this is how it seems to be. So the oracle card, it says grief. I understand losing something is an opportunity to appreciate it. That's how it goes. And when you have the involvement of grief, you're trying to figure out what's going to be happening. When you have grief, you have to understand what's going on, how it's going to comply to you, right? And this is how it goes. When you're grieving, you know what's going to be happening. But the way how it is, you're trying to understand what's going to be doing. You're trying to observe what's going to be happening in that way. Because this is how it seems to be. So when you have the word grief, you pay attention to how it goes in that way, right? So that's how it goes. But the way of this is, the way it's going to be very interesting indeed. You have to know what's going on. So I'm trying to make this interesting of how it's going to be, and this is how it's going to be in that way, because this is the way it is in that in the way how this is. But the way how this is the way it goes. So here we go. So this is how it's going to be. You're trying to find this interesting, amusing to you. Let's start off. The Nine of Wands is about where you're having a fear in that way. You don't know why you're having fear, but the way how this is, you're trying to understand what's going on. So you could be dealing with another Pisces, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius in that way, in that physical order. That's how it goes. The Lovers is there are no decisions, not yet. The Seven Pentacles upright reverse means that you already have a career because you're starting with it. The Ace of Cups reverse, there's no romance in this situation, but you know how it is. The Strength card does represent Leo as a fire sign, but it does represent strength because you're being bravery of how it is. The Two of Pentacles reverse, you're not balancing two things at once, but you are unbalanced. So this is how it is. But this is just a funny reading as it goes. So I'll tell you the way how it's going to be, and this the way of how it is. So this is how it's going to be. So I'm going to clarify the Strength card all the way to the Lovers. So let's see. So the full reverse, there's no change. The Ace Wands star, there's new beginnings. The Six of Swords reverse, there's no movement. Six Wands reverse, there's no celebration. Two Wands separate, you have planning. You have planning to do exactly how it is, and you're trying to understand what's going to be happening in that way, because you know how an opportunity is. You know how you're going to have your own strengths or weaknesses or dignities of knowing what to do. And this is how it is. You're trying to know what's going to be happening in that way, and you're trying to go for it. That's how it goes. But you're trying to not move forward or move backward. You know how it is. You're trying to be neutral of how it goes, right? You're staying in one place, right? That's how it goes. When you're staying in one place, you know how it is exactly the right moment and the right time and the right opportunity to understand that. That's how it goes. But when you have your own way about knowing what to do, you know how it seems to be in that way, right? You have to understand about the way it goes in that way, because you're trying to understand of how it seems to be. You're trying to, have your own angle shot or whatever it is in that way. You're trying to know what it is in that way. What's between this Ace of Cups to this 9 of Wands here? The 10 of Swords over, there's burdens. Page of Pentacles over, there's prospects. King Pentacles reverse, there's no insecurity, security as it is. 7 of Swords reverse, there's no deceit. But the 7 Pentacles stuff, right? Because you are having, you're focusing on your career because you're focusing about that award of how it's going to be. So you're trying to understand about that movement of knowing what to do. You're trying to know how it is. You're trying to not decompose or decompress or whatever it is. You're trying to know exactly how it is. Because the way this is, you know what it is in that way, and you have to understand that, right? That's how it goes. When you believe that everything seems to be happening all at once, you know how it goes in that way. You're trying to know exactly what it is in that way, and you have to give yourself the way how it works in that way, right? You have to understand about the way it is, and that's how it seems to be. So what's between the 7 Pentacles and this 2 Pentacles? Wheel of Fortune is upright, you're having good luck. The 9 of Swords is upright because you're having trauma. The 6 of Cups here is there's no past, but the Queen of Wands is upright, there's charisma. Yeah, because that's the way how it goes, and when you do that, you know what it is in that way. You're trying to be boastful, you know what it is, but then how you're going to do it, right? You have your own creative issues to understand that, right? That's how it goes, but you know what I mean, right? You know what I'm saying. But the way how this is, you're trying to figure out what's going on in that way, and you're trying to know exactly how it is. You're trying to express how you're feeling in that way, right? That's just how it goes. So let's see what's going on in the middle of this situation, please. The Knight of Swords, sorry, there's drama here, right? So this is how it is. You're trying to act like everything's fine, but then it's like, no, it's not. Because that's how it goes. So you're trying to pan out of how it's going to be in that way, right? You have to know exactly how it is in that way. You're trying to express how you're feeling in that way. So let me clarify this 9 of Swords. So we're going to go from the left side. So 6 Wands here is there's no celebration. The 3 Pentacles here is there's no excitement. Justice reverse, you're not telling the truth. Emperor reverse, there's no structure. 4 Pentacles here is you're not looking for money. The Hierophant is upright, you want guidance. Yeah, because that's how it goes. When you're in guidance, you know what it is in that way, because you need to go with the flow. You need to have your own basic needs, your basic wants, your own ways about considering of the way how it goes, right? You're trying to extract of how you're feeling in that way. What's between the middle and the right side, please? The 7 Cups is upright, there's a delusion. High Priestess is upright, you're using your inner voice. The 5 Cups here is there's no grief. The 2 Wands is upright, you're planning on something. Yeah, because when you're planning on something, you know how it is, because you're focusing. You're focus on the right criteria, because you know what it is. It's like, alright, this is how it is. This is not a back and forth situation. This is not the way how it goes. But you know what works, what doesn't, because you need to understand but your considerations, So let's see what's going on for the left side. Chariot reverse, there's no progress. Okay, what's in the middle? Tower is upright, there's transformation. The floor reverse, there's no change. Alright, so this is going to be very interesting indeed. So let me see what's going on. What's this chariot about? The tower is upright, there's transformation. Lovers is upright, you're making decisions. Yeah, because that's how it goes. When you're making decisions, you know how it is in that way, because everything is going to be intense of knowing what to do. You know how it is because you're trying to face what you're looking for. You're trying to do exactly how it is. You're trying to express of how you're feeling in that way. Because this is the way it seems to be. If you know what to do, you know what it seems to be in that way. You know how everything is. And this is how it seems to be. You know what's going to be happening in that way, and you're trying to underline of how you're feeling in that way. You're trying to do what you can, what you want, what you get, but then you have to understand that. You're trying to be physically active, or you have a mental challenge, whatever it is, but that's how it's going to be. You're trying to understand what's going on in that way, because you're trying to figure out what's going on. What's this tower about? The Death card is upright, there's endings. The Sun card reverse, there's negativity. Yeah, because everything is not drawn into that phase, because you have endings, that's how it goes. You could be dealing with another Scorpio, it's another water sign. But the way how this is, you're trying to figure out what's going on that way because you're trying to go with the flow. You're trying to pay attention what you want, what you get. That's how it goes. If you're saying that you are in negativity, why are you doing it? Why? Well, there are some things that you need to learn in order to do that because that's how it goes in that way, right? You have to do exactly what you're told to do because you have to be responsible on how you're feeling. What's this flow card about? The reverse, there's no obsessions. The high praise, there's no inner voice, judgment. Reverse, there's no action. The star reverse, there's no inspiration. Moon reverse, there's misrepresentations. The hierophant reverse, there's no guidance. Flow reverse, there's no change. The empress reverse, there's no nourishment. The chariot reverse, there's no progress. The war reverse, there's incompletion. Yeah, because things are not going as planned. Because you're trying to figure out why are you trying to emphasize this. It's like, why are you feeling like that? Because the way how this is, you're trying to know how it is. So let me clarify this world card. The strength card is upright, you own bravery. The death reverse, there's no endings. Lower is upright, there's decisions. Yeah, because when things are in the right perspective, you're trying to get what you want, but then it's like how you're going to intervene. Are you trying to get what you're going to impose? That's how it goes. So, things to be in that perspective. What's on the left side? The judgment reverse, there's no action. Okay, what's in the middle? The high priestess reverse, there's no voice. What's on the right side? The sun card reverse, there's negativity. Alright, so what's going on with this judgment here? The God's Fairy reverse, there's no ending. To go first reverse, you're gonna have bad luck. The justice upright, you're basically telling the truth. Yeah, because that's how it goes, right? You're trying to explain how you're feeling in that way. If you're having bad luck, it's like things are not going as planned. It's like, why are you doing it? That's how it seems to be. You need to understand about what's going on in that way, and you're trying to figure out what's going to be happening all at once. That's why it seems to be that. That's why when things be in that perspective, you know how it is in that way, but then you understand that, right? This is the way it seems to be, and this is how it is because you have to understand of what you're going to do in the exact moment, exact time, exact the way it is, because that's how it seems to be in that way. What's this high priest is about? The hermit is upright, you want solitude. Moon reverse, there's misrotations. The world is upright, there's completion. Yeah, everything is completed, right? So when you're in hermit mode, when you're in about, finding a soulmate, that's how it goes. But then you have to realize about this is the way it goes. This is not a pity party. This is not the way how it is. But you understand about what you're going to do exactly how it seems to be. You know how it is in that way because you know what seems to be happening in that way. So you have to understand that. Things have to be in that perspective because you know what it is in that way because you're trying to gradual the situation. You're trying to understand what you want, what you get, but you have to understand about how to desire of what you're doing in that way. What's happening with this sun card here? Material is upright, there's progress. The magician's upright, there's skill. Yeah, because that's how it goes. You're trying to do exactly what you're told to do because you're trying to understand about how it is. You're not trying to instigate how you're feeling, but the way how this is. You need to have progress. When you have progress, you have to have your own motivation, your own satisfying guaranteed about knowing what to do. And when things to be in that way, you're trying to contribute of how you're feeling in that way. You're trying to, do exactly what it is. So let's see what's going on the left side. Wheel of Fortune's upright, you're going to have good luck. Moon is upright, there's misrotations. And the judge is upright, you're taking action. Alright, so what's this Wheel of Fortune about? The hermit is upright, you're finding solitude. And the hierophant is upright, you want guidance. Yeah, that's how it goes, right? So you're trying to understand what you want, what you get, and what you desire. That's how it goes. And everything has to be all good, but this is how it is. This is not short and sweet. This is not how it is. But the way how this is, what you're going to be doing, and you're trying to pan out of how it is in that way, right? You're trying to go with the flow. When you go with the flow, you pay attention to where you're going to get and how you're going to desire of how it seems to be. You know what it is in that way, right? You have to maintain of how you're going to be in that way, right? You have to have your own social setting and know what to do. That's how it goes. What's happening with this moon card here? The word is celebrate, there's completion. The term is celebrate, you're healing. Yeah, that's how it goes. You're trying to reconsider what you're doing in that way. You're trying to heal about the negativity, or you're trying to draw in of how you're feeling. Because when you have your own guidance, you pay attention to how you're doing in that way. You're trying to level up. You're trying to pay attention to how it goes. Everything has to be all good, but you know what it is. You're trying to understand what you want, what you get, what you perceive with caution. That's why it is. Things to be in a perspective of how you're going to do that. That's the way it seems to be. You're trying to, how you're going to do it in that way, right? You're trying to have your own way about knowing what to do, in that way, right? Because you're going to buy step by step in that situation. You know what I mean? That's how it goes. What's this judgment about? The Emperor is upright, there's nourishment, and the Fool is upright, there's change. Yeah, that's how it goes. Because you're trying to understand about your having your own personal boundaries of knowing what to do. You're trying to face about your abilities from knowing what to do in that way, because everything has to be all good, everything has to be all satisfying, guaranteed. This is how it goes. When you are having your own temptation about having grief or whatever it is, it's like, this is the way how it goes. You're trying to understand that. But the way how this is, you're trying to know about it in that way because you understand that. So let's see what's going on the left side. The Four of Cups here, there's no distraction. Okay, what's in the middle? The Knight of Pentacles, alright, there's trust. Alright, what's on the right side? The Queen of Pentacles, alright. So you're basically trying to remember prosperity because you want money in that way. You're trying to understand what you're going to do in that way. You're trying to have your own physical reality and know what to do in that way because you're trying to compose what you're doing in that way, right? So it's like everything has to be all great, but then how would you do it, right? That's how it seems to be. So let me clarify the Four of Cups here. The Emperor reverse, there's no structure. Lovers upright, there's decisions. The Five of Pentacles here, there's no money that you're looking for, but the Fool is upright, there's change. Yeah, that's how it goes. You're trying to know exactly what you're going to be doing because you know what to do, because you're trying to process of what you're going to be doing. You're trying to be, how you can do it in that way because you have to understand that you're trying to be satisfying. You're trying to be who you are, but the way how this is, you're trying to understand that. That's how it seems to be. Things to be in that perspective, knowing what to do in that way. It's like, okay, I know what to do. I'm going to, shape it up or, how it is. But you have to understand about what it takes because this is the way it seems to be. You're trying to not go wild. You're not trying to do exactly what you're told to do, but you have to be responsible how you're feeling in that way. What's this Knight of Pentacles about? The Justice story, you're telling the truth. 6-1 story, there's celebration. Yeah, that's how it goes in that way. Because you're celebrating in that way. Justice is that you're telling the truth in that way. Because you know how it is. You're trying to get your want in that way. Because you have trust, you have the abilities, you have the ways how you can understand how you're doing. In that way, it's like, okay, I know what to do. But then you understand that, right? That's how it goes. Things to be in that perspective, knowing what to do in that way. You're trying to converse. You're trying to not intervene, but you know what I mean, right? You have to understand what it is in that way. So you could be dealing with another Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. You might be dealing with a Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, generally Libra, Aquarius. That's how it goes in that way. That's how it seems to be. So you don't know who you're acting with, any kind of zodiac sign that is, but you pay attention to what's going on in that way. You're trying to understand what's happening in that way. What's this Queen of Pentacles about? The Three of Wands is alright. There's communication, and the Magician is alright. You want to have skill, yeah, because that's how it goes in that way. Because you have to stand what you're doing in that way. Because you have to understand that. You have to believe that things to be in that perspective, knowing what to do, knowing how you can be craving of how you're doing in that way, because you're trying to show about your way how it goes. You're trying to understand that, right? That's the way it seems to be, and you have to understand that what complies and how you can do it in that way. You know what it is now in that physical outcome. That's how it goes. So let's see what's going on. Let's see what's on the left side. 5 swords here, there's no conflict. 9 cups here, there's no fulfillment. And the 10 of swords, there's healing. Alright, so what's going on with this 5 swords here? The 10 of cups swords, there's completion. The king of cups here, there's no support. Chariot here, there's no progress. But the queen of pentacles, alright, yeah. So there might be where you're having your own prosperity, right? You have your own money, or you pay attention to what's going on. So when you have that, you have the abilities from the right and wrong perspective, but then that's all you can do. You know how it is. You're trying to, how you can do it in that way, right? Everything has to be all completed. When you do that, you have to understand about how you can do it in that way. It's like, okay, everything's going to be okay. I know what to do, but then how I'm going to do it, right? This is the way it seems to be. And you have to understand about what works, what doesn't, but the way how this is, you know what it is in that way. You know how everything is in that physically or mentally or challenging way, that knowing what to do in that way. What's this Knight of Cups is? The 3 of Pentacles upright is because you want excitement, and the 10 Pentacles here, there's no wealth here, so there's no money. But the 4 of Swords over there's healing, there's resting, like this is the way it goes. You're trying to figure out what's going to be happening in that way, whether you want it or you're going to forget. But the way how this is, you know how it is in that way because you understand that, right? What complies to you is the way how it works, and how this reading is, That's why it seems to be that. And you have to understand what's going to be happening in that way. You're trying to go with the flow. You're trying to have your own basic needs, basic wants, your basic criterias of know what to do. That's how it goes. What's this Temperance card about? The Queen of Swords, already you're showing your independence. The Sword yours, there's no inspiration. Just already you're telling the truth, yeah, because you're balancing, right? So it's like when you're balancing, you know how it is. You're balancing as like my hands are. You're balancing, right? That's how it goes. If everything's balanced, you know what it is. But this is the way it seems to be. You're trying to know what's going to be happening in that way because you know how it is. You're trying to exactly how it is, right? So when things to be in that perspective, you know how it is in that way, right? You have to go with the flow. You need to know what's going to be happening in that way. It's like, alright, this seems to be intense, but why is it intense? Why? Because this is the way it seems to be. So let me see what's going on with this, the way how it is. So I'm going to basically tell you all about this curfew, setting, because it might make you laugh, what I mean by curfew setting. I mean that you might have a curfew, right? So you have to understand about what it is, but you know how it seems to be, right? So this is going to be a fun reading. It is funny because you have to understand what's going on. So you will see these, but I'll tell you what the reading is, because we're going to go from the left to the middle and the right side. I'm going to clarify every single card, but I will tell you about it. This is the way it seems to be. So on the left side, we have the 2 wands reversed. There is no planning here. So you're not planning on something yet, but this is how it goes, right? So this is like a theoretical speaking about the way how it is. What's in the middle of this situation? The Hierophant reverse. So there's no guidance here. Okay, so there's no planning, there's no guidance. What's on the right side? The Lovers are right. There's decisions. So you're going to have decisions to make. So what's happening with this 2 wands here? The 10 Pentacles are right there. You're focusing on your career, and the King Pentacles are right there. Security. All right. So while you're focusing about your curfew, you're focusing about you have security, right? You have security in your house. You're focusing on your career. All right. That's how it goes. But you have a curfew. Now, a curfew means that you're staying home. You're going to occupy yourself because you know what it is, right? You're trying to know what's happening, right? You're not trying to figure out what's going around you, but in that situation, you're trying to know what you're trying to do. You're trying to emphasize of how you're feeling in that way. You're trying to know about how you're going to be in that way. It's like, okay, I know what to do, but then how I'm going to do it, that's the way it seems to be. You have to understand what complies in that physical outcome, that's how it is. What's this hierophant about? The high priest is already you're using your inner voice. The eight pentacles here is there's no perfection. Queen pentacles here is there's no stability. Ace of swords here is there's a misunderstanding. But page of cups is alright, you want loyalty. Yeah, so if you're using your inner voice, alright, that's great. But then you have loyalty, right? But there is a misunderstanding here. If you have a misunderstanding, things are not going as planned. Things are not going as your outcome. That's how it goes. It's like, why? Why I'm having a curfew? Why? Did I do something wrong? Am I being stupid? You know what I mean, right? The way how this is, you're trying to understand about it in that physical outcome, but why would you do it? Why are you having all these, how it is, right? You're trying to figure out what you're going to be doing in that way because you're trying to understand what you want, what you get, what you need, and that's how it goes. There are things that you need to understand, whether you like it or not, whether you're trying to figure out what's going on in that way. That's how it is. And you have to believe it. You have to, perceive. You have to persuade. You have to do exactly what you're told to do, but you have to be responsible how you're feeling in that way, right? This is the way how it goes, right? That's why it seems to be. What's this Lovers about? The Judgment of yours, you're not taking action. The Page of Swords, there's no education. But the Ace of Cups is right there, satisfaction. So the way how this is, the way that I'm trying to describe to you is the way how it goes. So you have, the vision is your basically your career. King Pentacles does represent your security. The High Priestess is right there's inner voice. Page of Cups is right there's loyalty. The Ace of Cups is right there's satisfaction. Everything is satisfied. But this is the way it seems to be. This is how it goes. Because if you look at this in that way, you know how, oh well, this is a huge reading. It is, because this is based on that, right? So you have to understand what's going to be happening in that way, because you're trying to understand that, right? You're trying to know exactly how it is. You're trying to have your own physical bond. You're trying to figure out, what needs what, or that's how it goes. But when you do that, that's how it seems to be, right? So when you have your own extra potential of knowing what to do, that's the way it seems to be. You're trying to go with the flow, right? And when you do that, you need to understand about the way how this is. You're trying to understand what's going to comply to you. So whenever I talk about a curfew, you have a curfew to be at home on time, or never be late about going to school, or that's how it goes. But you know what I mean, right? So the way how this is, I'm not trying to comply to all of you that you're stupid. No, I'm not saying that. But the way how this is, you're trying to understand that all I'm saying is that when you have a curfew, you know what to do, So you have to understand about the ability from how you're going to do that, right? So if you're having grief, if you're, things are not going as planned, you know what it is, right? Or something happened, like you made plans and then all of a sudden you cancel for the last minute. Don't you hate it? That's how it goes. But you know what I mean, right? So you have to stand about the ability from the right or wrong perspective. That's all you can do. But then you have to persist. You have to do exactly what it is. But that's how it seems to be, right? So you have to stand about the ability from the right or wrong perspective. That's all you can do. But then you have to understand that. You have to believe it. You have to understand the way how it works. So you have to believe about what's going on in that way, and you have to understand that. That's how it goes. But this is how it seems to be. So I hope you all like this video. Please give a like. Please give a comment if you want, and please laugh if you do. But that's how it seems to be in that way. So I hope you all like this video. Please give a like. Please give a comment. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye for now. Really. Thank you. And have a nice day to all. Thank you. Bye for now. Thanks.